whereas we all love poetry, and whereas we understand that it is a necessity to read poems if one is going to write poems, we proclaim tonight Poetry Karaoke Night, in which we expand. Mr. Fruchter, is that you?
Yeah, I do.
What happened to your beard? Come on, you're going to read, right?
Sure.
Okay, you want to roll your letter?
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So this is our lovely demonstration model, David Fruchter, also known as Slappy Pinch Bottom. And what happens is, oh heck, let's just pretend we're playing craps. And come 7. You get a letter. Your letter is R. Excellent. The greatest poet ever's last name begins with R. And you find a poem that begins with the poet whose last name begins with R. And there's anthological books or books along the wall.
That's the poetry section. R.
Yeah, R. R. Like real good.
I was wondering what you meant.
Okay, so we're going to read other people's work to familiarize ourselves and to see poems that are out there. And it'll be fun. And later on we'll have prizes. So I rolled an N and had a little bit of a brain bubble, but Vivek kindly reminded me, Vince, that Neruda begins with N. Ooh, and I opened up the perfect poem for me. Vince, come roll the die.
Sure.
Okay, so where should I guess I'm sorry, I don't want to be degrading, but the floor or the table. The table would be fine. Table?
Right that way.
C. Oh, good. C is for cookie. It's good enough for cookie. Yeah. Cookies are sometimes food. Don't forget. See, there's a lot of C's tonight. Anyway, so I opened up Pablo Neruda's 50 Odes, and a perfect title came to me because this is right up my alley. The title is Ode to a Red Truck Loaded with Barrels. So what could be better? You hear that title, William?
Yeah.
Okay, because in honor of your shirt too. Ode to a red truck loaded with barrels. Oda a un camión colorado cargado con toneles. Un impreciso vapor, aroma o agua sumergió los cabellos del día errante olor. Campaña o corazón de humo, todo fue envuelto en este deshabitado hangar, todo confundió sus colores. Amigo, no se asuste. Era solo el otoño cerca de Melipilla, en los caminos y las hojas postreras, como un escalofrío de violines se despedían de los altos árboles. No pasa nada, espere. Las casas, los tejados, las tapias de cal y barro del cielo eran. Okay, and in English, an indefinable steam, smell or water immersed the hairs of day. Stray odor, bell, or heart of smoke, all was shrouded in that deserted truck shed, all colors blending in confusion. Friend, don't be afraid. It was just autumn on the roads near Melipilla, and the last leaves, like a shudder of violins, were saying goodbye to the tall trees. Nothing happens. Wait. The houses, the roofs, the walls of lime and mud, the sky were. Wow, Pablo Neruda. So we can also find new poems and things to love. Yeah, Pablo Neruda from Spain. No, where is he from? I should know this. Chile, of course. Chile. And now we have my good friend Lori Buckles, a professor at UT, or ACC, wherever we are, rolled a G, and she chose Louise Gluck. Yay.
So I chose a poem of hers that I am unfamiliar with, but it is called Messengers. You have only to wait, they will find you. The geese flying low over the marsh, glittering in black water, they find you. And the deer, how beautiful they are, as though their bodies did not impede them. Slowly they drift into the open through bronze panels of sunlight. Why would they stand so still if they were not waiting, almost motionless, until their cages rust? The shrubs shiver in the wind, squat and leafless. You have only to let it happen, that cry, release, release, like the moon wrenched out of earth and rising full in its circle of arrows, until they come before you like dead things, saddled with flesh, and you above them, wounded and dominant.
Okay, so next up we have Amanda Mygden, I'm sorry, who goes by Amanda Lovecats Mygden and appears in the Statesman fairly often with her comments. And she's going to read a poem from Laurie Niedeker, or Niedeker? Niedeker, probably.
Thanks, Joe. I never heard of this woman, but I like the poem. I like the imagery. It's called My Life by Water. My life by water, here spring's first frog or board, out on the cold ground giving. Muskrats gnawing doors to wild green arts and letters. Rabbits raided my lettuce. One boat, two, pointed toward my shore. Through bird start, wing drip, weed drift of the soft and serious water.
Hey. And now we have Jared Mygden, Amanda's husband from New Jersey, and he's going to read one of my favorite poets, Robert Creeley.
I've actually never read him before, so now I've got a lot to.
Okay.
But no, I was having trouble trying to pick. I had like 2 or 3 I really wanted to do, and I think if taken at face value, I think I get just neurosis a little bit. So this one's called Not Again. Sometimes I'm embarrassed by the recurrence of that pronoun which calls into question, rather into prominence, my own face. Of course, I am embarrassed. What else? Like with waiter with the tray on which repose only his own hands. Always Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no matter where I look, I am there. It was a breeze on a seashell brought in Venus, but I can be here without going anywhere. So goodbye until we meet again, and when you come, walk right in. It's I.
And Leah Huddleston got 8. Oh, Lord. I don't know if we should allow you to redo that. What the hell?
Too late now.
Okay.
I'm going to read from Joe Hoppy. Okay, this one is called The Kind of Thing the Buddha Must Put Up With, or Remembering Junior High. I was standing under the eyeball tree, hoping that its shade would not blink. It started crying because it needed rain. I asked it, "Why don't you hold that precious water in?" "I'm sad," it said. "I'm sad, 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 sad. And I think the world has the right to know."
Vivek Griffith, another ACC professor and a professor of free minds, got the letter L, and whom are you reading?
It's Philip Levine.
Oh, great, wonderful.
So I feel like I've learned something about myself tonight, which is that rather than going and finding poems that I don't know, I just started huddling around my favorite poems. So I don't know.
You can't go too wrong with Philip Levine.
Yes. So this is Philip Levine's poem, What Work Is, from his book, What Work Is. We stand in the rain in a long line, waiting at Ford Highland Park for work. You know what work is. If you're old enough to read this, you know what work is, although you may not do it. Forget you. This is about waiting, shifting from one foot to another, feeling the light rain falling like mist into your hair, blurring your vision, until you think you see your own brother ahead of you, maybe 10 places. You rub your glasses with your fingers, and of course, it's someone else's brother, narrower across the shoulders than yours, but with the same sad slouch, the grin that does not hide the stubbornness, the sad refusal to give in to rain, to the hours wasted waiting, to the knowledge that somewhere ahead a man is waiting who will say, "No, we're not hiring today," for any reason he wants. You love your brother. Now suddenly you can hardly stand the love flooding you for your brother, who's not beside you or behind or ahead because he's home trying to sleep off a miserable night shift at Cadillac, so he can get up before noon to study his German, works 8 hours a night so he can sing Wagner, the opera you hate most, the worst music ever invented. How long has it been since you told him you loved him, held his wide shoulders, opened your eyes wide and said those words and maybe kissed his cheek? You've never done something so simple, so obvious, not because you're too young or too dumb, not because you're jealous or even mean or incapable of crying in the presence of another man. No, just because you don't know what work is.
And A.R. Rogers is going to read from Rita Mae Dove.
Elevator Man, 1949. Not a cage, but an organ. If he thought about it, he'd go insane. Yes, if he thought about it, philosophically, he was a bubble of bad air in a closed system. He sleeps on his feet until the bosses enter from the paths of research and administration. The same white classmates he had helped through organic chemistry a year ago, they got him a transfer from assembly line to corporate headquarters, a kindness he repaid. By letting out all the stops, jostling up and down the scale of his bitterness, until they emerge queasy, rubbing the backs of their necks, feeling absolved, and somehow in need of a drink. The secret, he thinks to himself, is not in the pipe, but the slender breath of the piper.
Mm.